Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Wednesday 13, Mid-Death Crisis, out April 25th on Napalm Records. The album has 12 tracks, 43 minutes in length, and this is the band's 10th full-length studio album. They are an American punk rock band, incredible frontman, whatever designation you want to give Wednesday 13. Now, as far as the design of the album is concerned, I have to start off with the intro track. This intro track is so simple but so impactful in the design and the record that it's impossible to just kind of skip over it. It's not every day that you press play on an album and the intro track is short, sweet, to the point, sets the mood, sets the tempo for what the record is going to feel like, and it also works as an absolute cliffhanger. I've never seen that on an intro. You listen to the intro and you immediately like, what is the next song going to sound like? That is your mindset, and that's a great way to open up a record. That's exactly what you want from an intro track. So from that standpoint, the album is off to a great start and allows you to see the fluidity that it offers song in and song out. But the album has versatility. If you prefer to listen to a couple of songs here, a couple of songs there, pausing the album, walking away from it, coming back again, or even having songs on a playlist is not going to minimize the overall quality that the record offers, because that quality is not necessarily in how these songs line up with one another, but rather what the songs individually have to put on the table. So it's an album that has a great ability to work overall as a whole, but still work incredibly well individualistic. Now, the album design is not the only thing that offers versatility. The sound on this record also does, and it does it from two different perspectives. The first perspective for me is the different influences that the sound has on this album. You want to see elements of rock, punk, metal, industrial, even swing. There's just a little bit of everything under the sun influencing the soundscapes on this record. But the quality of the sound, the mix, the production of this record stays very consistent. So the way the guitars sound on song 1 is going to be how they're going to sound on song 2. Sure, here and there you may get a heavier track, you may get a more groovier track, you may get a track that has a little bit more volume, one that's more streamlined. That is all about the bandwidth that each individual song, that individual fingerprint, and the influences that come in and how they impact that song specifically. But the way the elements sound across the entire album is very compact and very uniform, and that creates a sense of balance, allowing that versatility to exist underneath it. The other aspect of the versatility of this record is that it's not every day that you listen to an album that, in my opinion, is actually pretty heavy and very dark, but it doesn't feel cumbersome. When I look at the predecessor to this album, Horrifier, I felt like that album perhaps felt a little bit cumbersome by the end of it, because the songs were darker. The songs had this, they had this lack of fun and lack of enthusiasm to them to a certain degree. This album brings that more jovial side of Wednesday 13 back into the fold. It brings a little bit of comedy, or at least comic relief, for example, in the lyrical content and how the songs are presented, even with some of the sounds and some of the influences used on this record to better bring those lyrics to life, to better bring the song's themes to life. So that is also a sense of versatility for me in the sound. I'm able to listen to a dark, heavy sounding album, but I don't feel overtaken by it. I don't feel like it's too heavy on my shoulders that by the time I listen to the album full, I'm not necessarily ready to go back again, because I kind of need to decompress. This record has a little bit more of that lighter side of Wednesday 13, with those influences playing in a very impactful role, creating that sense of consistency over the top. And when you put all of this together, sound-wise, you have a very dynamic, very engaging album all around. And I think it's the perfect formula that perhaps we lost a little bit of it in Horrifier, but we definitely got it back with this record. Now, I've spoke about the sound in general, but I definitely want to mention two elements, the guitars and drums. Not that the bass doesn't play a role, because the bass actually comes across quite well on this record throughout and adds to that darkness that the album has and even some grooviness of the sound. But this album, it has such a high guitar focus. It's such a guitar-driven record. And when you look at all the different influences that underline each and every single song on this album, all of them have a very specific guitar a guitar touch, a guitar focus, a guitar experience. Either be the songs that have more of an industrial drive, therefore a little bit heavier with a little bit more chugginess, a little bit of a thicker riff, or if you have more of a punk rock with a more driven, almost melodic sound at times. So it doesn't matter in which direction you go on this record, you're always going to find the guitars being the ones leading the charge. And it has great guitar sound, great experience, just a fun, at times even bright guitar sound. Like I said, for an album that it has a lot of heaviness, for an album that has a lot of darkness, the guitar sound really helps at times brighten up, giving some room for these songs to breathe. And I could say the exact same for the drums. I love the way they help shape not just the size of the songs, but the volume of the tracks themselves. I really felt like the guitar sound complemented well the drums, and the drums complemented well the guitar sound. The drums sound very warm, very full on this record, and I think it's a different way of creating darkness, creating size, but not necessarily, once again, making that experience really cumbersome for the listener. Once it comes into the vocals, super consistent beginning to end, but I want to mention an aspect of the vocals on this record that I think it worked extremely well. You're going to see some tracks bringing in some backing vocals. You could go as far as to say choirs, but not choirs in a traditional symphonic way. Now, those elements on this record, on specific songs like Bloodstorm, for example, brings a live vibe to the songs. And once you can bring a live experience of what Wednesday 13 Live is into the studio, you're always going to have a better record. And I think that's where some of the fun, some of the lightheartedness of this album comes through. It's that live experience leaking into the studio in terms of how you want your live performance to be, how you want the fans to appreciate it, and then try to bring that and create a studio format of what that experience is all about. And you're not only going to see that from the sound, you're also going to see that in the vocals, and I think that's a very important element. Those backing vocals, like I said, in Bloodstorm, for example, just phenomenal. They just add this energy. They just add this incredible vibe. They just bring so much more to the table. So this record is really good at using those elements and also knowing when the tone needs to be a little bit higher, when the tone needs to go a little bit lower, changing those levels of darkness, changing those levels of depth, adapting to the theme of the song, and also adapting to the sound that the songs have. So great vocal performance all around. And when you put all of this together, you definitely have an album that deserves your time, your attention. It deserves the plays. I really enjoyed this record. Not that I didn't like Horrifier, its predecessor, but I really felt like that album didn't have necessarily the longevity and definitely not the playability that Mid-Death Crisis does. This is a return to form, and let me just say this, Horrifier was super successful for Wednesday 13. But when I compare the two, this is a much better record all around. All the categories, all the boxes are checked. This is definitely one, if you're a fan, you must pick it up. As far as favorite songs are concerned, man, this is hard. I could even pick the intro. That's how much I like this record, and that's how much I like that song. But I picked Rotting Away as one of my favorite ones. It has great guitar sound. It really leads the way. Bass and drums coming through strongly throughout this track, helping to give some size to the song. And then you have this rock riff that is the main ingredient of the track that really drives this song, and vocally super catchy, specifically once you get into the chorus. The chorus is catchy both musically and vocally. It has all of these elements that you can relate to Wednesday 13, from the lyrical content to the way the chorus hits to the way the song is put together. It just feels like a live rock song, and it comes across in that manner. You can almost close your eyes and feel like this is a song you can definitely enjoy live if you go see a Wednesday 13 show. Then we have Bloodstorm, hands down my favorite song on this album, the most punk song of the entire record. This is what I would call like a punk anthem. It just has all of the ingredients. Super driven, a turn of energy, super bright, energetic, very explosive in terms of what the sound offers, and then very explosive with the vocals, because those backing vocals bringing that live atmosphere vocally into the track, adding even more energy to a song that musically already has energy, breaking at the seams. So when you look at this song, the drive that it has, it's a fun track. It's like a summer song, if you will. It has that party vibe atmosphere. You can definitely play this at your family barbecue. I'm sure everybody's going to enjoy it. It's just a great, great song. It has hit written all over it. Last but definitely not least, My Funeral, definitely different from the previous two, a little bit more slower, a little bit darker, much darker, a little bit more somber. But it still has, it still has its moments of clarity. The lyrics is something that really works well on this track, and you can look at from perhaps a little bit more of a funnier side, if you will. Even though the song is dark, even though the song is somber, it's not to be taken completely from that angle. It's just the vibe that it creates, the vibe that it represents. I still felt that the song had its moments that allows you to smile and allows you to enjoy the track. I really like the more overall dark somber feel that the track offers. It moves slowly. It's a little bit more of a more methodic song. And vocally, it also has a different approach. It's more of a storyteller. It's more like of a first-person storyteller narrator, which works really well with the track. It works really well with the theme. It works really well with the lyrical content. And sound-wise, I like the more sludgier sound of the song, and that's where the more methodic movement comes from. Another different influence pushing the track in a different direction. This is it, Wednesday 13, Mid-Death Crisis, out April 25th on Napalm Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the man, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, guys.